Hello and welcome back to my channel. It is like 3 p.m. here and I have been in surgery all day long, which is very, very weird because I don't usually do surgery. I mean, I am trained to do surgery because I am a remote medical specialist who has a background in battlefield medicine, but I don't particularly enjoy doing it and I'm definitely not gifted in it in any way, shape or form. Well, let's just say surgery is not my foreplay. It's not even my forte. You know, sometimes needs must, especially when you were the most senior doctor in the world's shittest hospital. And today just happened to be one of those days, and so here I am, fresh out of surgery. A surgeon, if you would. We won't, because I'm definitely not a surgeon. I mean, technically speaking, I am a surgeon. Ugh, I don't even like saying that. Ugh, I hate surgery. No, I'm not a surgeon. I do not identify as a surgeon, and you can't make me. So it is a lot later than I would ever willingly choose to start filming a vlog, but that does not mean that I do not have a whole to-do list of things that must get done today, because I absolutely do. The plan was not to stay at work to 2:30 in the afternoon. The original plan was to come home at 8 a.m. and get everything that I needed to do done. But plans change, and it's partly my own fault because I was supposed to film this vlog yesterday, but it ended up being like 45 degrees outside, which meant that Ash came over because even though he's got the much better house than I do, I have the better aircon system, so it all works out. We just ended up spending the entire day yesterday horizontal in my bed while watching The Last Unicorn and gorging ourselves on Ferrero shares, which at this time of the year gets gifted to us in bulk by supposedly grateful patients. It was all very, very gothic, just not very vlog-worthy, so you get me today instead of yesterday. Not that I am in any way planning on leaving my house today either, because I'm absolutely not. Not only is it still hotter than Satan's ballsack in a sauna outside, but it's also the last weekend before Christmas, which means that even my shitty small town currently resembles Times Square at midnight on New Year's Eve. Because you'd be forgiven for thinking that the shops were going to close for 24 days instead of 24 hours one day next week. The way that people are carrying on and bulk buying a lifetime supply of cheese and crackers. But just because I'm not leaving my house does not mean that there is a lack of things to do. So in a couple of hours, I have a Zoom meeting with a couple of trainers, orca trainers from SeaWorld San Diego, so that we can start unpacking the research that Nate and I have been doing into interspecies communication between specifically humans and orcas in particular more than humans, because it's really more a one-way kind of thing, which is something that, like, this is not the first time this has happened. Like, I have about 4 or 5 meetings with SeaWorld every single year. Well, the last couple of years I've had 4 or 5 meetings with SeaWorld on a pretty regular basis. Like, SeaWorld is the gold standard when it comes to this kind of research, and I'm very, very happy that, you know, they're willing to dive in headfirst, no pun intended, into this crazy little project that we're undertaking at the moment. I'm going to do some cooking. I really have no choice to, because I already brought the ingredients, and if I don't cook them in the next day or so, they're going to go bad because it's Christmas party season coming up. I have a lot of dinners over the next week that I need to attend. So it's either now or never. So I'm going to cook a traditional dish, not from my culture, but from an adjoining culture. And honestly, I have not cooked it in years and years, and I don't even remember if I like it or not. So we will discover that together, discover if it's any good, because I don't remember. But I remember how to cook it, and so I am going to cook it. And then if the sun ever simmers down, I'm going to go for a walk. But again, that is fully reliant on the belief that the sun is going to go down, which it very realistically may not, because it is summertime here in Australia, so the sun doesn't go down some nights until like 10, 11 p.m. at night. So there is a very real possibility that the sun is not going to go down today. Oh well. Because let me tell you, if you have never been to Australia in the summertime, you cannot comprehend how brutal that sun is. It's not that it's hot, okay? And don't get me wrong, like I said, it is hot. It is hotter than Satan's ballsack in a sauna. But that's not the issue. That's not the problem. It's hot, yes, but it's also like personally attacking you. Like, it is personally attacking you. It is physically painful to stand out there in that sun. It hurts your eyes, it hurts your skin. You can feel it burning you as you walk to your car. I have gotten a sunburn just walking to the bus stop before. That is how bad the sun is here. It's not the heat. I can deal with heat. I grew up in the tropics. I can deal with heat. It's not the heat. It is the sun in and of itself. It is personally trying to attack you. Have you ever seen the first Resident Evil movie where they're in that white tunnel and the doors lock behind them and the lasers come out? That is what standing in the sun here feels like. It is indescribable to people who have never experienced before. It is heavy. It is gross. And I'm not going out in it if I don't have to. Anyway, I am clearly stalling, so let's get on with the rest of the day, I guess. I lied. We're going to have to leave the house because I don't have any chicken stock. Could you imagine anything worse, more painful, than going to a supermarket 3 days before Christmas? I can't, but no point putting it off. Let's rip off the Band-Aid and get going. I have returned with my chicken stock to go with my chicken. Do you know what one of my pet hates in this entire world is? Like, this entire place. It's not something that I see very often where I come from, but every third person has this problem here. And that is grown adults who refuse to touch raw chicken. Like, what do you think this is going to do? It's dead. It's not going to hurt you. Like, grow up. Go wash your hands if you're that scared. You're much more likely to get sick from rice than from chicken, even if it's not cooked. It needs to be exposed to bacteria in order for you to get sick from it in the first place. Same with raw eggs. Is there an increased risk of bacteria in raw chicken? Yes. But there's also increased risk from bacteria from pretty much everything that you eat if it's not handled correctly. In general, this has got no more raw bacteria than anything else. So you may as well touch it. Like, grow up, go wash your hands. And while we're on the note, you don't have food poisoning, okay? You don't. You have neurovirus. It just so happens that you ate whatever you ate right before you got sick. You're going to have to eat something before you get sick. It's not the food's fault. Just, again, what is with you? Go wash your hands and you won't get neurovirus. I have not had neurovirus. Well, I don't think I can actually get neurovirus here. But, I mean, I haven't been sick in forever. Again, I don't know if I can actually even get sick here, so I don't even know if this is a good conversation to be having, but now I'm touching the chicken. I'm really bad at cutting it because, as I've said before, I have got a traumatic brain injury. And as a result of that, I am not great at bilateral use of my hands. So I tend to hack everything because I can't use both of my hands at the same time, which is another reason that I'm really, really bad at surgery and why I should not be trusted as a surgeon in any capacity. But again, needs must. What can I do about it? Nothing.
One eternity later.
Whoa.
A few moments later.
Okay, so my mood turned grey and now it is thunderstorming outside, which is pretty apt. Sort of like the weather has decided to match my vibe, which it very well might have. I don't actually know how these things work, so it could be that. So I did have my meeting with SeaWorld, which I did also record footage for, but then I ended up deleting it because it was not the most attractive footage that I've ever taken in my entire life. But the meeting went well. It went really, really well. They have been doing some really interesting stuff, some very interesting research, particularly with using eye tracking tech, the kind of thing that they use with patients who have near total paralysis, where they just follow the screen with their eye and it makes the ball move. So that's really cool. They've been doing a lot of stuff like that with Makani, who is the youngest orca that they have. He's about 12 years old. And orcas are a lot like humans. The younger they are, the more curious they are, and the more they're open to engaging with new technology and games. So he is definitely the best candidate. Not to mention, he's one of the smartest orcas there. So I'm very happy that I get to be involved in the research that they're doing in regards to that. Apparently, they have been doing a lot of vowel reinforcement with letter work recently, which is incredible. It's exactly the kind of thing that me and Nate have been working on in our own research project. Like, imagine saying and but instead of speaking to a 5-year-old, you're speaking to a 6-ton sea creature. Anyway, I finished that. I finished cooking. I ate my dinner. I had a shower and washed my hair, which is why my hair is now all nice and shiny and not a frizzy Hermione-like mess. So that was fun. But then what was not fun is that immediately upon finishing that, I fell into a slump and it started thunderstorming. So, well, actually I like thunderstorms, so that's a good thing, I guess. But I fell into a slump because, it's the end of 2025, which means that it's nearly 2026 and I am still here, and 2026 will mark the end of 2026. Will mark 12 years that I've been here, and I'm really not happy about that because I don't still want to be here. Which, there's no real logical reason for that other than the fact that I don't want to be here because I have good friends. I have everything that I could want. I want for absolutely nothing other than people. I want people to shut up because I really struggle with people talking to me here. I struggle with it a lot. People who are not Nate and Ash make me want to pull my hair out, especially when they talk to me about things like music, songs. And I know it's a very, very weird trigger, but when I hear people talk about, let's say, for conversational sake, they talk about a Lana Del Rey song, it makes me want to smite myself. So it annoys me because I listen to these songs and I think of all these incredible people that I've met throughout my life. And then I'm walking down the street and the woman in front of me listening to this exact same song that has inspired all these fundamental core memories, she hears this song and she immediately starts thinking about her boyfriend Jared. Her boyfriend Jared, who secretly hates her guts, but refuses to leave because she's the only person in the entire world who knows how to replace the toilet paper holder when it's empty. And he listens to finance podcasts and he calls her babe every single weekend before he goes out to his football game with his mates, and then cheats on her because, he's secretly angry that he could have gone pro if it wasn't for the fact that, he got that knee injury when he was 5 and that ruined all his chances. It wasn't the fact that he's just not genetically cut out for athletics. Oh no, it's the injury. We're all going to blame the injury, not the fact that we could have done anything about it, that we're lazy and we might have had a better chance if we just got up and worked out every single... No, it's the injury that we got when we were 5 years old. It was a scrape on the knee. It required 2 stitches, but that was a career-ending injury. So he goes out, he cheats, he gets drunk off his face, he comes home to her house that she pays for because he's a cocklodger and pesters her for sex. And if she says no, he pisses in her wardrobe. By accident, of course, but it's not really an accident because it's really just him asserting his authority, his manly ways over her for daring to deny him. That's who she thinks of when she hears the same song that is inspiring all these memories about people who did genuinely great things in my life, and I can't cope with that. I can't. Like, she doesn't say it to me, obviously. We're strangers walking down the street, but I know, okay? I know, and it boils my blood. Like, how dare Jared be your reference point for beauty, for love, for longing, for sorrow, for Lana Del Rey? You're polluting the song. And it's not even about him. It's not about her. It's not about their shared mediocrity. It's that it's like my brain cannot physically comprehend that your life is so empty and devoid of any meaning that Jared becomes the emotional high watermark of your existence. Like, how sad and empty must your life be for that, for Jared, to be your grand epic love story? The one that you think of when you hear Lana Del Rey. He doesn't even wash the skid marks of his underwear. And I know that it's irrational. I know that it's unfair and it's unkind. But it enrages me all the freaking same. And it's not just music either. I have this response to fantasy, like modern fantasy books in particular. Fantasy movies sometimes. Sometimes I can enjoy them, but most of the time I can't. But modern fantasy books in particular really set me off. Like, I had lunch with my friend Kanishk, who's a doctor in the neighboring town, on Tuesday last week. And I got him an Our Crate advent calendar for Christmas. And we opened it all right there in the cafe because we're not psychos. We're going to open an advent calendar when we get it. And day 2, I think it was day 2 or day 3, was a set of coasters with fantasy book quotes on them. And I Death had always been her shadow. She had been forged by shadows and shaped by fate. Death had chosen her, and now fate would answer. Like, shut up, just shut up. I wanted to light the cafe on fire. And I don't know what it is specifically about these romantasy fantasy books. Romantasy, is that what it's called? Yeah, romantasy books. But they trigger me like nothing else in this entire world. Maybe it's because they're all just like, it's the AI generated word soup component of it all the ones written after 2014. Or maybe it's like a cultural appropriation thing, to be honest. Maybe I just get really annoyed because it's just so unrealistic in the way that it's handled. Or maybe it's just because these books are being written by people who have never had a single defining event happen to them in their entire life. And so they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks when it comes to wordplay. I don't know, but they trigger me like nothing else. But I don't have this problem with thriller books or horror books or genre literature, even more modern stuff that has been written after 2014. I don't have this problem with. Some of it I can even find myself enjoying if, I give myself enough cognitive dissonance. But when it comes to fantasy, I just can't do it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it's being written by people who, again, have no real meaningful life experience. And so they're just trying to string the word shadow and fate together and hope that, they sound deep and meaningful. Which it actually might very well be that shadow aspect in particular, and that tends to come up a lot more in fantasy. Just because, Dress Levesque and my best friend Ilya, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I am exceptionally self-aware of myself. I've had a lot of time to be so it'd be quite pathetic if I wasn't self-aware. But, I know for a fact that I don't want to share a planet with a man named Jared who has shitty skid marks in his underwear. And I also know for a fact that one of the reasons that I get triggered, one of the main reasons that I get triggered so badly by this is that I myself am caught in a state of stasis. And so, I can look down on people, but they for not having any real meaningful experience in their lives or whatever. The reality is that I haven't done much of note for the last 11 years either. I've been standing more or less still. Well, not so much of the 11 years. The first 2.5 years of that were quite busy, but even in the grand scheme of my life, those years were pretty empty as well. And so I know that there is a level of displacing my annoyance with myself and my own position at the moment and the way that my life is at the moment onto other people. And at the end of the day, I am just a hater at heart of it, to be honest. I enjoy looking down on my high horse. Let's be honest, I could probably seriously use some professional help to overcome this because it's not very helpful and, it's actually quite arrogant, but I'm quite inherently an arrogant person anyway. I'm an only child, darling. I am an arrogant person by nature. But it's not going to happen. I'm not going to see a psychologist in any capacity. I have to see a psychiatrist every 3 months, legally speaking. But that's not, for me, that's for their benefit. But I couldn't see a psychologist because that psychologist would also have lived a perfectly normal, stable, predictable life. And so the moment that they started talking to me or trying to give me advice, all I would be able to get from that is the overwhelming stench of a suburban upbringing. And nothing in this world grosses me out more than suburbia, like modern suburbia. Those new housing estates, they are the most disgusting things that they make me physically nauseous to drive past them. That's how gross they are. And so, there is nothing that they could say or do that would make me respect them. So maybe the answer to that is to dive deep into the journals that Dress Levesque gave me. But then at the same time, I don't want to do that. Because and Dress Levesque want me to do that. That's why they gave them to me in the first place and kind of continue to get other people to give to me. But, so that's a reason. The second reason is, I could work on journals like the Shadow Journal. But I was going through this yesterday and I come to the realization that I would really struggle to put anything down on paper because my pride would prevent me. Not that I don't know the answer to what the questions that they're asking, I do. But not only am I extremely arrogant, I'm extremely prideful. So having to acknowledge that and put it somewhere that other people could read it or hear it, that would hurt me a lot. That would hurt my ego. So yeah, I don't know what to do with any of this. I know exactly what what it is. I know exactly where it comes from, and I know exactly how I'm supposed to fix it. I just can't get over that hurdle to actually committing myself to fixing the problem. But 2026 is, well, it's not a brand new year, to be honest, but it's a brand new year here. So we'll see how we go. Maybe we'll work on the shadow journal. Maybe we won't. Time will tell. Or it won't. Who knows? I don't know what tomorrow brings. But in the meantime, this is Casey signing off for the night. As always, stay weird out there, stay safe. And just because it is boiling hot at midday does not mean that it won't be pouring rain come night. That was a really bad piece of wisdom. I don't know what I was going for, but yeah, good night.